Hey, it's Soul with another video, and today we're doing a quick preview of what to expect in Season 3 of Delves. This is all based on PTR information, and everything is subject to change, but this ought to give you Delvers a fairly good impression of what's going on. You can help support the channel by liking this video, subscribing for real WoW coverage, and catch me where I'm live. Let's start off in Delve HQ and this Titan console where Dagran used to stand. It looks like the special belt isn't being abandoned for those who didn't earn or power it up during its current patch. The quest is very simple, you just need to complete any delve to get the belt. It appears to follow up with additional quests to again complete a delve for item level upgrades. What I'm less sure of are the actual overcharged delves and the Titan console used to make them easier. Overcharged delves no longer appear on the map. One actually did the other day, but the delve itself showed none of the signs of being overcharged, as in no ground effects, no special mobs, and no console. I never learned the shield ability on live realms, but on the PTR, it is learned, making me speculate this, along with any number of powers, might be baked into the belt automatically when you get it, because there won't be a console to progress through after this patch maybe. That said, if you want to get the mount related to completing the talent tree, you should probably do so before Season 3 begins, but to be on the safe side, do it before 11.2 drops in August. Moving over to Brann, he's standing next to a new flag and a UI that measures how many delves are being completed by Horde and Alliance characters. Whichever faction has more delves completed will have their flag displayed. It's a cute little thing to show some faction pride or rivalry, and probably it's gonna be the match that'll bring us back into total war. I can't wait. Finley over here offers new cosmetics in the same flavor as Season 2 delves, including the previous season's ensemble in case you didn't finish collecting complete sets. At the other end of headquarters, Reno offers some of what's on the Delver's journey, which has had some interesting changes, so let's take a look at that too. One of the more significant changes to point out are that Delver's bounties don't even start dropping until we've reached the second milestone here, which can slow down the start of our Gilded Crest farming in the season. It's not the biggest deal for more relaxed players, but for those of us who are trying to min-max our gains and aren't all in with mythic keys, this is going to be a small setback, and it's kind of telling us to slam delves across multiple alts early in the season to hit this milestone as soon as possible. Also interesting is the milestone we earn after this, where an NPC named Zahran appears at the end of Tier 9 delves and higher. Now, I couldn't test this yet, but according to Wowhead, he's tagged with this Delve Trinkets title, meaning he'll probably sell the available Delve Trinkets at a price, probably under coins, which might be totally awesome for hooking up alts, but we'll have to explore this a little bit more so we can find out which gear track we can buy. I'll go over the Delve Trinkets we know of a bit later. The rest of the track is mostly standard fare. Cosmetics for our new dirigible, by the way, here it is on screen, complete with its usual round of customizations, not to mention buying additional bountiful keys and eventually the veteran track stuff, which I still don't think has been very useful in the face of other ways to obtain veteran gear over a season. I'm also not too pleased with basically getting the same mount model all expansion, and hey, feel free to share your feedback. One really cool thing to work for though is this toy towards the end of the track. It's basically a transmogrifier toy like the one from the trading post. This one seems like it'll be an image of our favorite dwarf if you're only counting the dwarves named Brann. Finally, there's a new vendor who sells what they call memories. From what I can gather, these are used in delves, and what they seem to do is leave a crystal that plays a soundbite depending on the crystal you leave. You just need to click on it. The one that happened to work in testing plays a very classic Illidan line. It seems this is part of what Blizzard announced when they said you can leave messages for other players to find. I imagine there's going to be a way to control just how many of these you see, unless we're all for, I don't know, seeing the delve covered in this stuff. But this little added feature isn't trying to take itself seriously, and neither should we. I mentioned him earlier, but Brann, the man himself, returns once again in Season 3, with no missing hat plot or, well, any plot to be found. In this build, there's no questline to set up the what's what, but that took a while to show up on the PTR last season as well. Brann's gonna have another 20 levels, bringing him to a max level of 100, so good for him, he's gonna pass us up. From testing and looking up data mining, there are fewer Curios to play with in this current PTR state, with 5 combat and 5 utility Curios to look at. In previous seasons, there was a Curio specific to the Delve's nemesis, and that hasn't been found so far. We'll cover Curios in just a moment. The theme of Delve focuses on the ethereals and other related spacey things like the Devourers. They're dotted along different Delve stories across the zones and also populate the nemesis packs, which also make a return this season. The new delve is kind of a stretch. It's accessed in Karash, but it takes us all the way to the Azure Vault dungeon on the Dragon Isles. We venture through part of it to help the Ethereals from looting the place, and there are features I don't fully understand yet, or maybe they just don't work right. We'll do a more complete preview of the new delve as testing comes along, as the scaling is still currently based on Season 2 numbers. But in any case, the overall delve gameplay, it's not changing so much, not like it did with the introduction of Tank Brann in Season 2. But let's go over the Curios, which do a bit to change up the gameplay. I mean, nothing as crazy as the pacifist rig, but still. As I said earlier, there's only a total of 10 so far, but I'm sure this will go up by at least a little bit before the season changes. If it doesn't though, then that just kind of goes to show how little variety there is in curio options, and Blizzard's just responding to that. Starting with the utility curios, the Sands of Karash provides a buff as you progress through the delve that provides a throughput buff and provides limited crowd control over enemies to mow them down with AoE. The Temporal Decelerator Crystal is kind of a kill streak perk that helps you along with debuffing elites. You just need to be able to defeat the elite before the debuff wears off to earn the perk. The Battered Aegis is a tanky perk that snapshots the last 10 seconds of damage you've taken and heals for a percentage of that amount, with additional buffs if you're grouped with others and they start dying, but ideally you shouldn't rely on that buff. The Audio Amplification Crystal provides a passive buff as Brann talks, aka as you progress through the delve normally. From testing, every time he buffed me, I got a 5% haste buff that lasted for 2 minutes, and the buff can stack. Finally, the Tailwind Conduit is arguably my favorite. It increases your move speed as you leave combat, so you can quickly get to the next pole, and it applies damage mitigation when you pop a defensive, which makes plenty of sense. Moving on to combat curios, the Hatterang borrows from Avenger Shield, striking up to 5 enemies and applying a number of different debuffs, most of them being pretty useful. The Quizzical Device provides a buff between you and Brann depending on each of your specializations. The Ethereal Energy Converter is your oh crap curio, which pulls mobs if you reach low health, and also restores you. Fortunately, the cooldown is reduced as you defeat mobs, so that 2-minute wait won't really be 2 minutes as you're wading through trash. The Mana Tinted Glasses is mostly the Tank Brann buff, which makes them deal and take more damage. Also interesting is for classes who can cleanse, they can cleanse Brann while in combat and he'll get a big heal as well as stun enemies around him. Finally, there's the Nether Overlay Matrix, which can spawn a weaker version of Brann for 1 minute. Now, I haven't tested this one out, but I'm curious, is this just a dumb clone like the Bioprinter Curio, or is it an actual clone of Brann? Can the world handle 2 gun-toting psycho dwarves jumping around pulling everything? I don't know, but that sounds like the more interesting version for Chaos lovers. We'll just have to get back to this when we can test it. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the trinkets coming from delves. Some of these I was able to get from the vendor. 2 of them I was not able to, so we're going to look at those first. And then we're just going to see what we think about them. Have chat with me. We'll see if they happen to chime in with any input. If so, great. If not, well, it's the morning anyway. That's what I get for starting this kind of thing so early. So we have the Essence Hunter's Eyeglass. This is an in thing, and it's a proc guy. Your spell and ability crit strikes have a high chance to grant you Arcane Hunter up to 5 times, increasing your ranged abilities and spells crit strike rating by 1500 crit rating, which for item level 610, that's what we're seeing right now. It's going to be a lot more, in the 700s or so. So this is going to be fairly significant. This might mean, basically just a strong overall trinket that gives passive main stat and crit for those who like crit. Not bad. And keep in mind, these are delve trinkets. So, there are some cooler trinkets that are going to be coming out for dungeons and raids and everything. But especially because there may be a vendor that lets you sell, that sells these kinds of trinkets, this can be potentially very, very cool. Again, it just really depends on what kind of gear track these trinkets are going to be on. Is it going to be veteran? Is it going to be hero? It's not going to be myth, because I don't think we're going to see myth, and these other trinkets, they only max out at hero anyway. Anyway, Observer's Soul Fetters. This is a crit trinket with a passive. You can understand demonic. Cool. It's kind of a cool warlock trinket. And it has an on use, we don't know the cooldown of it, but you release the fetters to empower your soul, increasing your, well, maybe int, if you happen to be a warlock and you want to be, roleplay, I suppose. And it's for 20 seconds, not super long, but with the scaling, like almost double this, then this one might be kind of cool. Another thing stolen from Warlocks. Holy Priests will use this. Paladins will use this. Sure, why not? The language is ours now. Okay, so let's move on to the trinkets that we do have here, which will give us a little bit better of an idea of what the stats and scaling are going to be like. So, starting off with the Void Touched Fragment. It's an all-around trinket. Your home for spells and abilities have a chance to grant you a fragment or a buff. Slaying an enemy guarantees a fragment, and once you get 15 of them, so I'm going to guess this happens maybe like, I don't know, every minute or so. You absorb their energy, increasing your mastery by quite a bit for 10 seconds. So something that feels good inside, like the likes of Delves or Mythic Plus dungeons, really depends on just how much stuff you're killing. And it really depends on like how often is that proc going to go up that's going to give you that uptime on mastery, because that's a lot of mastery. I have a feeling it's not going to be like that much. So not something that I'd rely on for like dungeons or raids, but inside a delve, this would be like just a cool like, oh, let's go, whenever it happens to go on. So, all right, Soulbreaker's Sigil. Another all-around trinket. Your harmful spells and abilities have a chance to fracture the enemy's soul, dealing damage over 10 seconds. If the enemy dies, you absorb their lingering energy, increasing your verse by 5,000 something for 10 seconds. This is a weird one. So it's an okay kind of dot. Not sure if it happens to like apply to like a bunch of mobs or with AoE or something like that. This might just be like a single target thing. But if it dies, you get some extra verse, which is like cool, but it doesn't exactly pull off like the whole like kill streak, and then you just start like pumping and destroying like a whole bunch of dudes at once. So this one's like just kind of okay, I think. 5,000 verse seems very low. I don't know how it budgets with like the damage that it deals, but oh well. Moving on to the Chaotic Nethergate Mastery Trinket. It's an on-use with a 2-minute cooldown. When you use it, it floods your location, so I guess immediately around you, with mana, dealing damage every 1 second for 10 seconds, and it heals people, heals up to 8 people. So it's consecration, but void stuff. It's all right. 2-minute cooldown though, that's kind of long. Now it's that much damage every second, which is like kind of okay. The heal is pretty pathetic. The heal's pretty sad. Not the kind of thing that I would use. But hey, if you happen to get it and you got nothing else at the time, that's not a bad thing to fall onto. And there might be certain situations where having that kind of AoE would be useful. Who knows? Moving on to the Symbiotic Ether Gauze, a tanking trinket. This is one that I've been using on the PTR actually. It has enough stam to equal that of, let's see, not exactly, I guess like a item level 700 for, like, if these pants were item level 700, it'd be like kind of close to the kind of stamina that you get out of it. So it's a stam trinket, which is already kind of a turnoff for a lot of people, but blocking, parrying, or dodging has a chance to awaken the gauze, causing it to lash out, dealing damage split between nearby enemies while shielding you for 2.8 million damage for 15 seconds. From the limited testing that I've done, this thing procs kind of a lot, as long as you're blocking, parrying, and dodging stuff. So if you can do all three, hey, great. Bears can dodge more, but they don't block, right? So those are the kind of things that you have to think about depending on like the kind of tank that you want to have wear this. I think it's kind of cool because I'm a big stickler for trinkets and other effects that do actual defensive stuff as opposed to, I just want to do more damage. But it does do quite a bit of passive damage as well to enemies. And maybe it's like a good threat holder or something like that too. So this is a fun one. Mana Forged Aether Cell. We're moving on, by the way. This is an int trinket. Your healing, okay, it's a healing trinket. Your healing abilities have a chance to power the Aether Cell, increasing your mastery by quite a bit, decreasing by something each second, and it lasts for, so basically it goes down and then it becomes 0. So it fully decays. That's not bad. It's a lot of main stat that you get out of this thing. The mastery is cool for healers that rely a lot on their mastery, but for those who don't, literal trash, so That's how that goes. Um, let's see. Let's see. Modern Headlines was saying that this one's good for a pot paladin. I think this would be good for like most tanks. Who happen to like dodge or parry more often than other tanks might. So maybe for a monk it might not be as good because they just take it and stagger it off. So, but then back to this one real quick. Yeah, this one's not bad. Yeah, I think this would be like a cool one. It has a nice like front loaded like oomph whenever it happens to proc, if it procs. Moving on, this one's depowered. This one is called the Miniature Reishi Sand Garden. It is another healing trinket. Your healing abilities have a chance to grant yourself 5 swirls of disturbed sands, with each swirl giving 5 something haste. 1 swirl decays every 4 seconds until the sands dissipate. So it's kind of this, isn't it? This is the Aether Cell gives mastery and it decreases, lasts for 15 seconds. This one gives haste, and this one and it decays every 4 seconds until it goes away. But then it's just like it's different math, right? Because you get 5 of these charges, so that's 2500 haste with this item level, and then it goes away once every then it goes away in 5 ticks over 4 seconds per tick, whatever. So yeah, same thing. Cool. I wonder if this if one of these will push the other out. But then it's mastery versus haste, so it's just like, okay, whatever you feel like having. Moving on to the Veiling Mana Shroud. It's a strength trinket, taking damage, so tanky stuff. Taking damage has a chance for the Shroud's enchantments to enhance your prowess, granting 5,000 verse for 12 seconds. I'm a weird paladin. I reject versatility, so to me this has like no value. But maybe for like a druid or not really a PvP situation, you'd rather wear PvP trinkets. So this one's like okay. I say this one's like just kind of like this one's kind of dull, but it's better than nothing. If the proc rate's good and you can have like really high uptime, then it's like, oh okay, then you get like a nice boost to your verse on top of having some really good main stat bonuses. Moving on to the depleted Koreshi battery. This is an all-around trinket. Your harmful spells and abilities have a chance for the battery to drain the life force of the enemy, inflicting arcane damage every 2.3 seconds for 12 seconds. So not quite 6 ticks, not quite 4, something like that. So yeah, you get a number of ticks. That's kind of whipped. 100k arcane damage that often is really low. Now, again, if this has a chance to proc multiple times or to proc a lot on enemies, or if it's not like direct damage, if I can like cast AoE and then it can apply to a bunch of enemies like at once, that could be kind of cool. But so far, it's not that cool. Shadow Guard's Twisted Harvester. Taking damage has a chance to siphon chaos energies from the Twisted Nether, granting you a bit of leech for 10 seconds. Dropping below this health, even though this is an all-around trinket, it feels like this, well, I guess it's a defensive sort of thing. Dropping below this health will unleash the harvester, immediately granting you even more leech. It can occur every 2 minutes. So for leech happy folks, this is kind of cool. So like great for demon hunters, or demon hunter tanks, I suppose. But for I guess it's good for any DPS. You get that extra defensiveness, a little bit of extra healing or so. And you get a little bit out of it, but not so much. Moving on to the automatic foot bomb dispenser. This is familiar. This was a curio from the previous season. Your harmful attacks have a chance to drop foot bombs. You still need to run onto them, and if it does, then it does some decent AoE to enemies in a 6-yard radius. So cool for AoE packs, good for delves, good for dungeons, maybe, probably. Really depends on how often the proc is going to be. If it's as often as it was for delves, then that could be like pretty good, but I have a feeling it's not going to be. Of course, though, you need to move. So for someone who is a heavy caster, this is like fatal. Depending on where the foot bombs drop, this might be like very odd. If you're a tank, it's like, okay, do I really want to risk repositioning mobs just so I can get that foot bomb? Of course I do, and so that's going to cause like a little bit of chaos, which might be cool. All right, so the leech one might be good for the mage tower if you're still looking to get that done. So, yeah, so these might be one thing to possibly check for at some point would be like, okay, can we cheese these in the mage tower like we can with the Dark Moon Fair stuff? Because that's been something that people have taken advantage of a lot. This might be cool too, depending on the fights. But I think of like the tank one, and a lot of the time it's not exactly throughput or self-healing that's the problem. You just get blasted off the platform or something like that. All right, moving on. We're almost done. The Incorporeal Essence Gorger, another everyone trinket. It's an on-use with a 2-minute cooldown. Rip magical essence out of your target and consume it, dealing arcane damage while granting you. Also, so, okay. It does damage to your target. I thought it did damage to yourself, and it grants you a lot of your lowest secondary stat for 20 seconds. If the target is an ethereal, your highest secondary stat is increased instead. So that's kind of interesting. At first I was like, okay, this thing kind of sucks because it's the lowest secondary stat, but now it'll increase your highest secondary stat, which is great until unless you run into, unless you go way over on your diminishing returns, which would be like, meh. But I guess conditionally, this can be a really good trinket because it has main stat. It does a little bit of damage, which is like, ooh, whoop-de-doo. But it does give like a decent amount of secondary stat. It just depends on whether, if what you're fighting happens to be an ethereal. So it's not going to be great in every delve, although delves are going to be themed and they're going to be ethereals there. But you got to think about using this trinket. Now, of course, if you're fighting, if you're using this in raids, it's a give and take. I'm not familiar with all the raid bosses who are in the upcoming raid. I don't know if all of them are ethereals or if some of them are like demons, beasts, whatever. So you have to be aware of that. So yeah, it's all right. Manufacturing Odium. This is a strength and agility trinket. Your harmful abilities may cause your mind to tear piece by piece. At the 10th tear, you succumb to arcane insanity, providing you a hell of a lot of haste while periodically recovering your sanity over time. Slaying an enemy or witnessing an ally's death instantly tears at your sanity. So I guess that means it procs, but otherwise you can get like quite a bit of haste. So it says that it recovers your sanity over time. I wonder to myself, like, if we use this or if we have this, I guess when it goes off, there's going to be some sort of cooldown before it'll start to, before it fires off again, or it'll just reset down to 0 and then you get your sanity back. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this. This one will need like some good field testing, which I haven't done on this one, but it's a lot of haste. This could be like, this was potentially very cool, especially if it procs off of slaying enemies and stuff. So this could be very good for like dungeons, delves, and whatnot. Maybe not so much for raids. So Droid over there is saying that the second to the last boss is an ethereal in the raid. Okay, so it might be something to like consider switching to, or at least hold on to. Like if you happen to get a hero version of this thing, and you happen to have like the spare Valor Stones and Crest or whatever, maybe it's worth holding on to and then switch it for that boss so that way you can get like the most out of it. Who knows? And then finally we have the Twisted Mana Sprite, which is a verse trinket. Your healing spell and abilities have a very high chance to summon a Twisted Mana Sprite to assist you in combat for 10 seconds. It'll periodically heal a random nearby ally. Overhealing is converted into an absorb shield for 5 seconds. So this is almost my kind of trinket, because as a prop paladin, I like being able to like do off heals and stuff like that. But it has a verse. Ugh. It'll give me a good bit of like initial verse because I have like almost 0 on my main right now. But something like that will, it'll be kind of cool. The healing that I'm seeing from these trinkets so far in this round is really low though. So like this gives you like, ooh, it heals for 100k. That's like That's nothing. Even the overhealing, if it's converted into an absorb shield, that's really low compared to like what else is possible. So like here's like some of the healing trinkets. That's like one of the tanking things. There's like a couple of other tanking things, and then the rest of these are mostly procs, mostly damage, and main stat gimmies. Now, of course, this is very early. We're more than likely going to see like some big tuning happening with these delve trinkets, but also keep in mind, again, we'll have to see what happens with the fact that we can purchase these off a vendor. So people will be able to be like, oh, which is the best in slot? Cool, I'm going to go for this one. And it also depends on the gear track that those are going to fall onto. So that's everything we know so far about delves in Season 3, and I'll revisit this again shortly before the season begins. At the moment, it doesn't look like there are huge shifts happening, like Gilded Crest are going back to the 21 per week and maybe plus 10 per Delver's Bounty, although obtaining Delver's Bounties are hitting a speed bump. The jury's still out on the trinket vendor though, and let us know what you think in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.